Another day, another try in achieving greatness in Dawn of War Definitive Edition. In the last battle, we got a lecture in terms of map control and build order. In this match, we will try to follow those lessons. Can we beat the Battle Sisters by following a different build order with these orcs? Let's find out. So, this time around, we decided to start with the usual 2 Slugger squads, as well as the additional Gretchen squad. But our first building this time around was the Boys Hut. The main idea was to overwhelm our opponent early with 2 Slugger squads, the Big Mac, as well as some shooter boys that we will send later on. As we were up against the Battle Sisters, I felt confident. Apparently, they're considered on the bottom of the strength level of the Dawn of War factions. And so, while we were waiting for the Big Mac to arrive, we already started to capture the nearby points while doing and expanding as quickly as possible and get on with the banners so that we can continue expanding our army in the mid-game. Well, once the Big Mac was ready, the goal was clear. Cripple our opponent's economy as much as quickly as possible. And with the shooter boys coming into the pipeline, I felt confident that we would be able to achieve this goal. As you can see, we stormed their base and started to decimate their units. But, to my surprise, their units were not that weak as initially expected. I guess Google and Reddit are not always the truth. Oh well. Nevertheless, in our first encounter, we were able to destroy some buildings. Now, would you consider this small intermezzo successful? I don't think so. His economy barely suffered anything. And we, on the other hand, we suffered great losses. It is clear to say that my bullying tactics in the beginning still need some groundwork, especially because I started to use all of my requisition to keep my squads alive instead of building up my own economy in the base. And so the inevitable started to happen. We started to fall behind the curve. As you can also see at this point, we didn't even build our generator yet. So we didn't build our pile of guns, and we couldn't really proceed in the tech tree as well. And so our opponents started pushing us back. And although it was not as successful as I wished to be, my opponent chose not to counter. Instead, he chased me back to our base and called it a day. You will soon see, he took one of our listening posts, but we were able to get it rather quickly. Well, this gave me a second chance in this match. We wanted to rebuild our army and maybe start another attempt. At this point, my past me also realized, oh damn, we don't have any energy in our supply. So naturally, we built our first reactor and started to investigate the pile of guns. Which, again, I should have done much earlier, but oh well, I chose a different strategy this time. I guess it's this trade-off with these orcs. Do we want to develop our army and get some good units, or do we just want to overrun our opponent with bodies that only require requisition? I chose the latter, and as you can see, I failed miserably. Well, anyways, with the pile of guns finally in place, we were able to build up our army a little bit better again. We were able to fortify our slugger squads with commanders that are naturally much more resilient, and soon get our Big Mac back into play. What I did kinda miss is develop the tech tree. Even though we had our pile of guns, we did not really focus on developing the tech tree, and this is another mistake that will be costly in the future, because I can just tell from what our opponent is doing versus what we are doing. He is developing his tech tree, and so making his units stronger. However, looking at this recording, with the Big Mac back into play, our army started to look dangerous again. For whatever reason, we were even able to push back our opponent to their base again. We were at some point even able to take one of their objective markers. At some point we were even able to take one of their acquisition points, setting him back maybe a little bit. Not that it mattered, he took it back right after. And so, while they were building up their army in their base, we tried to do the correct orc thing. Maybe this is something that I should have done in the beginning. We wanted to take as many points as possible and maybe pressure our opponent into some silly moves. Because at this point the endgame marker would start and pressure him into action. Also, with some knobs attached to my Big Mac, I felt rather confident at this point. This battle might even switch momentum, I thought to myself. Well, I had it all planned out. After taking the second objective marker, I wanted our opponent to start getting offensive. And I wanted to surprise him with a teleportation attack into the back of his units. See, I hid my units behind this mountain formation, and he would have to go a long way to even get to my knobs with my Big Mac. The idea was, since the knobs are a very strong mid-game unit, I thought my strategy would bring him down and give me the victory at the end. In the meantime, we were even able to get another knob squad, develop some vehicles, and even get some armored knobs. At this point of time, to my past self, this army started to take a great shape, and I was actually very confident that we would be able to come out victorious, since we had the advantage of time on our side. Well, little did I know that his army was preparing to deliver the final blow. In this scenario, both of us were rather stationary, building up our armies, and as I said before, I was waiting to counter his attack with a masterpiece teleportation. Again, what I didn't know at this time, he was doing the smart thing. He was reinforcing his units, making his army very strong, and also researching the necessary and, I guess, important thing to make his army stronger. While we were just focusing on getting as many bodies as possible. With around 4 minutes to go, he chose to attack the middle objective point. And I must say, the beginning of this attack looked very promising to me. His army shattered into mine, and from behind we were able to get some damage in with the teleportation that I mentioned multiple times now. He retreated to a better spot, and since his unit had the speed advantage, we were kinda on the back foot now. Relatively quickly, his ranged weapons decimated my melee orcs. We had trouble getting to the opponent, just frankly. And after realizing that, I chose to retreat. Well, that didn't go well either. Since our army was very slow, they just picked the rest of our army apart. And as you look or watch this battle unfold, after that battle, it was game. there's not really much I can tell you more. The mistake happened early on, and our opponent just outscaled us with his economy. The final battle could have been handled maybe in a different way. Maybe I could have been a little bit more patient. Maybe I could have just attacked his base instead of teleporting behind his units. But I was too confident that my knobs could have had no issue against tiny battle systems. I guess overconfidence gets punished relatively quickly in this game. Saying that, I also realized that to get better in this game, I need to understand other factions as well. This is why my journey will continue with the Space Marines, since this faction is also one that we will see in Dawn of War 4. I'm actually excited to try out and see a different angle of the game. I guess we will see if this will be more successful in the next battle report. And until then, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'm hoping to see you in the next one. Goodbye.